right. I think there's still a couple of people trickling in as people try and steal a second or a third ice cream from outside. There's no judgment here. This is a safe space, and it's been a long day. So, we're up to the last session of the day, and it really is a privilege to get to stand here and to introduce our Locknote speaker, Rendle. So Rendle is joining us all the way from the UK and works for a company called X-Ray as their CTO, which, from what I can gather, involves a lot of work with subtitles for the real world. And now, I don't know about you, but I would love to have subtitles for the real world because people mumble. I'm not listening. I got distracted by something else. So if everybody could be subtitled so I could follow what was being said, that would be amazing. It's really exciting to have Rendle here this year to close out DDD Perth 2025. I've had the pleasure to see them present many Locknotes. I've even had the opportunity to present a Locknote with them a few years ago, where we tried to condense a 3-day, 8-track conference into 60 minutes. And this afternoon, Rendle's going to be picking us up and giving us some reasons to be cheerful in this world that we live in, which, given the fact that we're in Perth, I'm hoping will involve at least one picture of a quokka, because if there's not a picture of a quokka, what reasons do we have to be cheerful today? Thank you, Rendle.
Thank you. Hello, Perth. It is an absolute privilege to have been flown literally halfway around the world to come and speak here. And this is an amazing event. I mean, the view just out the back there, you know, if I'm not very pretty, just, you got that to look at. It's amazing. And I would like to say kaya and acknowledge the traditional custodians of land, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay respect to their elders, present and past. Thank you to them. Yes. No, the keynote speakers didn't get the sponsor slide. So yes, this is reasons to be cheerful. And I think we need reasons to be cheerful. I was just in Leonora's talk about burnout, and there's a lot of that going around. And I like the way that she talked about it. It's kind of like, it's like technical debt. It's kind of like you're going, all right, I'm going to burn out for a little bit, and then I'll recover from the burnout. And we at X-Ray are just launching our new glasses, and I'll talk about them in a bit. But if you are struggling at the moment in particular, or if you have something amazing that you want to share, I know it can be scary. You know, people go, any questions? And there's like however many people there are in this room, a couple hundred people, and you don't want to stick your hand up and have everyone look at you. So if you scan that QR code, I've set up one of those NGL things, and so if you've got a reason to be cheerful, please share it, and then I can read those out at the end. And if you are sad for some reason, tell me why you're sad, and I'll try and cheer you up and make it better. Okay, because I'm good at that. That's what I do. Because I did this talk at the start of the year in London, and I do funny, silly, high energy talks, and I make people laugh. And this Confessions of an Imposter was supposed to be like that, and then it went completely off the rails and became very raw and emotional and powerful and real. And the feedback I got from the conference organizer afterwards was, that was amazing, and it was a privilege to be a witness to it. Please never do it again. And so this was, kind of like, I'm going to write the opposite of that talk, so it's this. So yes, this is the NGL link, and please send me stuff there. People are buzzing. I get NGL notifications on my watch. My wrist is going to be vibrating all the way through this. I have not thought that through. I'm not going to be able to tell when it's the vibrations that go 15 minutes to go. Anyway, let's just move on. So yes, there have been a few talks about AI, and who's worried about AI and sort of taking your job and destroying the economy? And we used to think it was just Skynet and robots from the future, but no, it's that it's going to come along because we were promised that AI was going to make our lives better and was going to do the jobs that we don't want to do. And instead, we've got AI that does the stuff that we do enjoy doing, and I still have to clean the litter box out myself. And I don't even have a cat. But there are some good uses of AI, and so I'd like to share some of those, and I am going to take this opportunity to plug my own company, the XR AI. So the XR is for augmented reality, X for augmented, obviously, and the AI is for AI, but we are X-ray, and we make glasses, and we've just launched our new glasses, and I shouldn't be on stage here. I should be figuring out why our app doesn't work in background mode. But these are augmented reality glasses. And I mean, I've got a big head, so they look kind of just like chunky hipster glasses on me. But these actually have little screens built into them. And if I have the phone app active and I'm talking to you, I can see everything that's being said in front of me. And if you speak a different language, we can translate between 223 different languages. So I can have all these translated into English, or you could have the English translated into Icelandic or Norwegian, I was showing people last week. And so, there is good stuff that we can do with AI. And so we're using AI for the speech recognition, AI for the translation, and we use AI to help us build the technology that's inside the glasses as well. And there is a lot of other good stuff that's going on in the world of artificial intelligence. Medical diagnostics, for example. So you are not going to replace doctors with AI because, I mean, some doctors, maybe the AI would actually have a better bedside manner. I've met a couple. But for the majority of the time, the AI can do repetitive tasks and sort of very, very high detail tasks. For example, you have like an MRI scanner, and the resolution on these things has got insane. It's down to like 1/10 of a millimeter, like whatever that is, 100 millimeters? 100 micrometers, anyway, whatever. It's tiny. And so you take all these images of somebody's brain, and you can now, be using an AI to analyze those images, they can blitz through hundreds or thousands of images in a very short space of time, and they can spot tiny, tiny little dots in one or two of those MRI slides that could potentially identify a tumor or a problem long before it has the opportunity to actually become a real problem. And they can do that in a way that 100 radiologists sitting there with a magnifying glass would not be able to do with the same level of focus and efficiency. So that's a good thing. And then that frees up the radiologists. The AI flags up and goes, hey, look, these are the ones that you should look more closely at. And then the radiologists, the experts, the real human people can focus on the things that they need to focus on. And so we're going to save more lives that way. We're working with genomics. This is an insanely complicated thing. Like the human genome is absolutely massive. It's gigabytes and gigabytes and petabytes of data. And it's really complicated to understand it and to understand what's going on there. But using AI, we are able to work out new ways to work with the human genome and with people's individual genomes and come up with specific therapies for specific people to treat individual people based on their DNA, based on analysis of how they work, how they are put together. Hang on just one second. Maybe fix my eyes at some point. But yes, so, because this very long words, and I'm not great at learning them, because a combination of ADHD and probably early onset dementia. But no, so machine learning models can analyze genomic sequences to identify pathogenic mutations, detect hereditary disease risks, and even guide cancer treatment based on tumor genetics. So you can take a DNA sample or an RNA sample from an actual biopsy and use machine learning to analyze that to come come up with specific therapies that will attack that tumor in particular, which is just completely nuts. And you can integrate genomic data with clinical history to offer a probabilistic diagnosis. And, you know, so this is just going through all these G's and A's and T's and everything else. And we can, for individual patients now, in a way that we have never been able to, we can specifically look at that patient, that condition, that biopsy, whatever it might be, and come up with a therapy just to treat that one person in a way that is now both like possible in terms of time, but also economically viable. You'd need like a doctor or a team of doctors for every single person in the hospital to be able to do this without the AI. And we have AlphaFold. So back in the day, hello young people, hello Gen Z people, I love you all. You are changing the world for the better, and I really do mean that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for turning up and taking a look at the world and going, yeah, no, this won't do. We are going to fix the shit out of this. I am not one of those Gen X people who goes, oh, why do you have to make such a fuss? Please continue to make a fuss. It is generally and genuinely making things better. But no, AlphaFold. So back like 20 years ago, when we first had the World Wide Web and screensavers were still a thing, and there was a thing called SETI at home, because there's these radio telescopes that are pointed at the sky and looking out to see if there's intelligent life up there somewhere, because there's none down here. And it takes a lot of computing power to analyze all these radio signals. And so you could download this screensaver, and then when your computer went into screensaver mode, it would connect to the SETI at Home project and download chunks of radio data and analyze it. So they were using all the computers connected to the internet as a kind of massive distributed system. And then someone went, hey, hang on, rather than looking for alien life up there, we've got this problem with folding proteins. It's really difficult to work out how to fold proteins to create certain medicines and that sort of thing. And so then there was a folding at home project, which was using all the computers in the world to try and work out ways to fold proteins that would create stable whatever, molecules. Because it was an insanely hard problem. It is mathematically, in terms of probability and all this sort of stuff, it's a ridiculously hard problem. Okay, and then, a couple of years ago, the people who made AlphaGo, which is the AI that beat the Korean world champion at Go, like 3 or 4 games in a row, which everybody said was impossible, and they went, okay, we've cracked Go. IBM already did chess in the 90s. We don't have to worry about that. Let's have a go at that protein folding thing. And so they trained the thing to do this protein folding that, remember, we used to use all the computers in the world to try and do, and it was still too slow. And this thing basically turned up and in like 1 week just went, finished, done it, figured them all out. What do you want to do next? I saw Tanya's talk earlier on about education and working as a teacher, and there's a lot of changes going on in education at the moment. Teaching modern kids who have access to ChatGPT and Google and all the world's information and all the world's alternative information at the same time, and teaching them is a challenging thing. But we can apply AI to education. We can create personalized learning plans based on analysis of a child's approach to learning. We can look at their results, we can look at the areas that they're struggling with, and we can create individual personalized learning plans for children to help each individual child achieve better according to their particular skills and needs and requirements. And that is really it's nuts. I've talked to some people about this, and some of the things that they're doing, it's like completely individualized lesson plans, homework that is different for every single child, which A, means that it's targeting that individual child's needs, and B, means they can't copy off their mate Steve, which is fantastic. Although my son is not necessarily happy about that. We are applying artificial intelligence in areas like manufacturing, working out better, more efficient ways of doing things with less environmental impact. and analyzing data sets that we can't make sense of at all. Computers, big machine learning, deep learning AI can look at massive data sets and can find correlations and relationships and patterns that humans we would never be able to find it. We would never be able to read all that data, much less actually make any sense of it. Retail, much less waste now going on, much less food waste, much less logistics waste, moving things to a place where they're not going to be sold. We can use AI to analyze purchasing patterns and relationships between kind of weather and, did you know, like, stories that are on the news affect whether people buy toothpaste. I found that out recently. That's weird and terrifying, but apparently if there's a lot of bad news, people don't buy as much toothpaste, because it's like the world's going to end, so why does it matter if my teeth are clean? Or I'm not sure. There is a correlation, and again, that was found by machine learning. Transportation, you know, computers, I don't know what it's like in Perth. I've just moved away from Surrey in the UK, and there is no way that even like a 48K ZX Spectrum from the 1980s could do a worse job of town planning than Woking County Council. Energy, we can predict draws on the grid, we can come up with better ways of producing energy. Government, I think everybody would agree that we could just get rid of the government and replace it. Just have two AIs, a left-wing AI and a right-wing AI, they said, pointing the wrong way. Not big on directions. And just let them take turns. Or, you know, have elections and just have the left-wing AI and the right-wing AI get up there and do the debates, because that could not go any worse. And science, you know, science, same with medicine and all this sort of stuff. We've looked at all that kind of thing. And making my slides look less crap. I'm generally not good at slides, and so for this deck in particular, I have just put titles on things and then accepted the first thing that PowerPoint went, here's a design suggestion for your slide. And so if you're enjoying them, thank Microsoft and PowerPoint's machine learning things. And if you're not enjoying them, haha, it's not my fault. And there's a lot of concern about the environmental impact of artificial intelligence. But I have got, this is my laptop is a M3 Max with 36 gigs of RAM that I picked up for the equivalent of 3,500 Australian dollars refurbished, because, you know, it's perfectly decent. It would have cost 8,000 Australian dollars new 12 months earlier. This thing runs GPT-OSS 20 billion parameters, Quencoder 3 30 billion parameters, runs them quite happily, locally, on battery for 10 hours straight. I was able to use that on battery on the flight over here for 6 hours with no trouble at all. So as we are getting these things smaller, and particularly as Apple are building better and better NPUs, the sort of the neural engine into their Apple silicon chips, we're getting better and better at this. And you know, I was able to ask it questions like, how many slices does an MRI machine produce? I need to know for a talk. And yeah, this was Cogito. This is a 20 billion one. This was running locally. And I did go and check, and it did seem to be right, but I thought I would just ask it. And as far as it goes for us personally, where we're worried about it taking our jobs, and particularly replacing junior programmers. So I do use AI. I have a Claude Code subscription, and I use it to help me code. I am not a junior programmer. I have been doing this for 35 years. I am not giving it things to do that I could give a junior programmer to do. I am using it to help me do things that I don't know how to do. And it's doing them. It's writing Zig code for me and creating insanely performant pipelines so that I can run speech recognition on an iPhone and on an Android phone and do it locally without requiring any cloud access, so the glasses work. And I've come to look at it this way. It's not a programmer. And we are not at the point where you can just go to GitHub, grab an issue, do it, and I will come along and approve the PR. We are not there. It's not a programmer. It's just like a new programming language. And you have to be really detailed, and you have to write a solid spec, a requirements document. You have to think like a programmer and tell it what to do like a programmer to get decent results out of it. So all the skills that we have in terms of analysis, in terms of breaking something down into the individual steps, in terms of thinking about the edge cases and the happy path and the sad path and the validations and all of those sorts of things. Everything basically except learning the individual syntax of specific programming languages and fucking typing. And those are not the fun bits of what we do. The fun bits of what we do are solving the problems. And the computers cannot solve the AI cannot solve the problem. But it can take what you are wanting to do and turn that into syntax and type it in. And then you go through and you fix it. Because, trust me, you have to fix it. And it's great. I don't know Zig. I can't write Zig code from scratch. But I can read. I'm learning Zig by getting Claude to write Zig code, and then I review it. And sometimes it gets it wrong, and then I can go and I can Google something, or I can go to Google Gemini and go, hey, can you see what's wrong with this? And it goes, no. But yeah, it's not replacing us, it's augmenting us. It's like those people in sci-fi movies who've had a chip stuck into the side of their head that's making them cleverer. And I think that's what it's doing, and I think it's good. Because the opposite of that, the thing where you just kind of like go, hey, I've had this really good idea, you should do this. Vibe coding. This is not what, nobody in here, no programmer, vibe codes. We tell it what to do and how to do it, and we give it detail. Vibe coding is the thing that the Silicon Valley tech bros are doing, which results in things like this from March. My SAS was built with Cursor, 0 handwritten code. AI is no longer just an assistant, it's also the builder. Now you can continue to whine about it or start building. Yes, people pay for it. 2 days later, hello, 2 days later. PowerPoint was built with Cursor. Guys, I'm under attack. Ever since I started to share how I built my SAS using Cursor, random things are happening. Maxed out usage on API keys, people bypassing the subscription, creating random shit on DB. Yes, yes, and that's what you deserve, because you don't understand authentication, you don't know what least privilege means, you don't know any of the stuff that makes us qualified to build systems like this, and you qualified to pay us to build systems like this. And so this is going to continue. This will continue to happen for maybe a couple of years. The best thing about this is that apparently the guy will now stop sharing what he does publicly on X. And I think we can all agree the world would be a better place if nobody shared what they do publicly on X. Anyway, we are living in the future. This is the future I was promised. Like I say, I'm a 70s kid. We had the Jetsons. We were going to go flying to school in spaceships with a robot nanny with a really bad attitude problem, by the way. I mean, that thing was worse than the Terminator. And, you know, all the mod cons and most of this stuff hasn't really arrived just yet. Flying cars, I mean, that does not seem like it should have taken as long as it has taken. Where are my flying cars? Why do I not have, or at least a flying motorbike? That seems like something we could do, right? I want a flying motorbike. But no, this is the current state of the art in flying cars, and that looks like a Ford GT from the 1960s, except when it's in glorious flight, when it looks like a Ford GT from the 1960s that somebody's nailed a pair of wings to, and it's probably got Tom Cruise inside it doing his own stunts. And then I found another site, and this one, I mean, this is really the summation of where we are with the future. This is the Aleph flying car. Now, I want you to look closely at this photo of the Aleph flying car parked at the side of the curb. In particular, I want you to look at the wheels, okay? Those are car wheels, aren't they? Those are car tires on car wheels on the concrete there, okay? And then on the same website, they go, oh, see it in action. And this is it in action. Look at those wheels. Those are not car wheels. Those are pram wheels. That is not a car. That is a DJI Mavic 3 Pro, or maybe two of them, with a helium balloon attached over the top. So yeah, I don't think we're getting the flying cars anytime soon, guys, I have to say. The robots are actually going a lot better. And going back to sort of needing something to change my litter tray, and also find out why it needs changing. That's the stuff where you need kind of humanoid robots, because yes, you could build things that are better able to cook meals if you convert your entire kitchen into a robot that cooks meals. But the world has been built for us to achieve things in. And so if we want robots to do those things for us, we need to build robots that work like us. And it's getting better and better and better. Gemini Robotics, these are the latest robot hands from Gemini Robotics. Gemini Robotics is actually the AI models. They've trained these models to do very, very precise things, and they do things the way we do them, and they can operate hands the way we operate them. And they no longer teach the robot how to do things specifically. It's not sort of now close by that much, now twist by that many degrees, now do this. It's machine learning. It's the repeat, get it wrong, learn it again, neural network, the recurrent neural network, the sort of positive and negative feedback idea that they are using. And they've created robot hands that can fold origami swans or platypuses or whatever the hell, and make your children's lunch for them, and Mom, I don't like green beans. Don't blame me. Blame the robot. Yeah, no, it wasn't me. I would have given you biscuits, but no, the robot said you had to have green beans. We have rescue robots. So I know that your country catches fire, like for about 3 months out of every year. And so now we have robots that can actually fly through the bushfires and identify the koalas and grab them and carry them to safety, and leave the kangaroos there because they're bastards and we hate them. Care robots, because no one cares about old people, so we can just build machines to care about old people for us. That's much easier. And I say that as an old person, you young bastards. But no, they can do the bits of caring for old people that actually, there is a sincere and serious meaning to this. A lot of the things that old people need help with are dehumanizing. And they would prefer that those things are not done for them by their children, by their loved ones. They don't want their loved ones to see them as pathetic and needy and requiring that kind of help and that kind of role reversal. And so building robots that can do those things in privacy for people who can no longer do them for themselves is a really, really positive step in a very good direction, okay? Not funny, but I do want to kind of every now and then make a serious point. So that is a really, really good thing. In China now, there's a robot school. And this is not a school where all the teachers are robots. This is a school where if you are building a humanoid robot, you can send it to this Chinese school, and they will teach it to do things like fold sheets and hoover and do all these different tasks. And it doesn't matter, so if it's humanoid and it can make humanoid movements, they can teach it. And the great thing about robot school is you send one robot and all the robots learn. So yeah, that's an actual thing that people are actually doing now. And then there's this. In an experiment reminiscent of the Transformers movie franchise, engineers at Princeton University have created a type of material that can expand, assume new shapes, move, and follow. That's not reminiscent of the Transformers movie. That's reminiscent of that movie. Hello, Princeton. Can you not, please? Yeah, no, we saw the movie. It's not going to go well. Medicine, which I already talked a lot about AI and how it's helping with medicine, but there's other stuff that's helping medicine as well. And probably the main one is CRISPR. And apologies to Kate, turns out CRISPR actually is an acronym. But I didn't know how else. I mean, I could have just said clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, but I don't think that would have been better somehow. So, but no, CRISPR is amazing. CRISPR is actually a way of editing RNA and DNA at the molecular level. And it uses Cas9, which is a protein, a kind of molecule that was discovered in bacteria and is part of the bacteria's immune system. And it can cut and paste and chop together and edit bits of this. And we can use it to create effectively like bacteria or viruses. We are engineering tiny, tiny little organic machines, and we can use this as gene therapy for diseases and genetic conditions. We can use it to improve crop yields. We can use it to create new versions of crops that will grow even in the changing environment as it changes, and fix those things. And this sounds like sort of, oh, very soon we'll be able to do this, but we have actually done it already. So there was a kid, a baby, called KJ for the purposes of this, and he had a CPS1 deficiency, which is a metabolic deficiency disorder, and it causes an accumulation of ammonia in the blood, and the way to treat it is a liver transplant, but he was too young and too sick to get a liver transplant. And they used CRISPR to create gene therapy that they gave to KJ, this tiny little baby, and within 7 weeks it had restored his metabolic function to the point where he was strong enough to start actually taking the medicine that would help clear the ammonia out and keep him alive until he was old enough to get the liver transplant that he needed, which is just absolutely nuts. Even then, you have to have another baby to donate the liver at the moment, and that is obviously A, tragic that they have to be the donors, but B, it's actually very difficult to, you sort of, in this terrible situation going, I hope somebody compatible with my child dies horribly in an accident, but their liver is undamaged. We are now coming out, we can print organs. So we can take this sort of gene level editing and whatever a step further, and we can actually produce new organs that are exactly compatible, where we don't have to do any immune suppression at all. We can just take a little bit of DNA, a couple of stem cells, and we can print entirely new kidneys, livers, and it's building up. We'll be able to do hearts and lungs and all that sort of stuff, and that is a real thing that we are actually doing in laboratories. And then finally, climate change. So there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff going on with climate change. Solar windows, these are really cool. So one of the problems with solar panels is where do you put them? Let's rip all the windows out of all the buildings and replace them all with solar panels that are slightly see-through, and we can almost get this to the point where those big glass monstrosities over the river there that look fantastic from this far away, but not so good close up, but we could replace all that glass with solar panels that would actually be able to power most of the building. Not quite all of the building, but if you then put a few of these new smaller wind turbines on top of the building and combine that with the solar windows, we can have entirely self-powered buildings. They can handle the aircon in the summer, the heating in the winter, and the power required for all the MacBook Pros to run the artificial intelligence model so that we can build software that does something. This is a fantastic project I found out about in South America. They have a big problem with the increased heat is causing the canals to evaporate off, so they have dry canals. And so someone went, we find a way to keep the sun off the canals. And so they've started building solar panels above all the canals. It generates electricity, and it actually stops the water from evaporating. So the canals can keep working all the way through the summer season. And the land beside them stays irrigated and everything continues to function, which I just think is amazing. And we are actually just about to get nuclear fusion. We have created nuclear fusion reactions that generated more energy than we put into them. And to be absolutely 100% clear, yes, we put in terawatts of electricity in order to create that reaction, and we got terawatts 0.1 of energy out of it, but we are finally, after 50 years of it being 5 years away, we are finally on the right side of that equation. And using AI to model things, to model new ways of generating constraining magnetic fields, we are actually making progress towards getting there. The other thing that's going to help with this is quantum computing. Quantum computing has a whole ton of applications. It's going to help us create better batteries, cybersecurity. It's going to be able to crack every RSA key we have ever generated. So now we have to have post-quantum cryptography, which again sounds like science fiction, but is actually in .NET 10. What? Yes. Also, my favorite thing about post-quantum cryptography is that the main library for it, like the OpenSSL for post-quantum cryptography, is called Crystals with a K, and there are two parts of it, Kyber and dilithium, which brings together everybody's favorite sci-fi franchises in a way that I know the fans of each of those franchises, the Star Wars franchise and the Star Trek franchise. They love it when people confuse the two together. And so yet finally they come together under Gandalf's staff. But yes, quantum computing can solve problems that we have no idea how they're even solving them. And currently the best idea is that all the quantum computers across the multiverse do the sums at the same time. One of them comes up with the right answer and then sends it to all the other ones across the multiverse, with Doctor Strange going, woo! So that is honestly, there are a lot of like proper scientists who you see on YouTube and stuff, not just on the Joe Rogan show, like real scientists, who honestly think that's how it happens. And Microsoft has just made a huge leap towards quantum computing. The biggest problem with quantum computing is every qubit needs like 4 error-correcting qubits, and every one of those qubits needs another, which is like an exponential problem. Microsoft have created this was a theoretical particle that was posited by a fascist in the 1940s, and they've actually created it in a laboratory. And it is its own antiparticle, which apparently means it does error correction on itself, which is just insane. Also, fun fact, the coldest place in the known universe is currently in a basement in Redmond in Seattle, Washington, because they have lowered something to, I think it's nano fractions of a degree Kelvin. And space is just not that cold. Space is like 1.2 degrees Kelvin or something in most of the places. So yes. Let's do some random reasons to be happy. DDD Perth, who's had a good day? And then we'll be back again next year for another good day. Perth generally. Honestly, I've been here, only been here for 3 days, but I went to Rottnest Island yesterday, and that was fantastic. Speaking of Rottnest Island, quokkas! Quokkas fucking exist! This is me and a quokka. All right? The quokka's line of sight, if anyone is interested, is my chicken and mayo sandwich. People are amazing. I have met such nice people today. Considering I'm a POM, and this is Australia, everybody's been insanely nice and welcoming, and I love you all. And so yes, Kate and Joe and Leonora and Leonora's husband, James, came with me to Rottnest Island yesterday and showed me around and just made me feel so welcome, and it was really lovely. I want to say problems are things to be solved, not suffered, and we should go, oh, no, not problems. Now I get to have fun solving it instead of just feeling crushed and repressed by it all. And there will always be new tech. There will always be DDD Perth or something like it, because there will always be new technologies and new techniques and new ideas coming along. And there will always be people like me and all the amazing speakers you've seen today who just have this need to get up on stage and share it with you. And that's fantastic. I love that. I'm going to grab my phone out and see if anyone has sent things on to that. How much longer do I have? No time at all, basically, is it? Sorry? 2 minutes. You know what? Trust me, I'll read them. If you were sad, I hope you're not sad anymore. I'm not going to say something specifically to cheer you up. I am just going to wrap up quickly. So, go out into the world, go back to your lives, be happy. And it's easy to say that. Being happy is a skill, and I had to learn how to do it, and I'm going to share how I do it. My big problem is I have a tendency to look at the big picture. I tend to zoom out and look at the world and things that are happening on like Fox News and CNN. No, don't look at that stuff. Zoom back in. Look at the scene that is actually in front of you. Look at the park that you're walking through. Look at the people that you're sitting with. Look at the place that you actually are. Get even closer. Look at the wildlife around you. Focus in on the flowers and the plants and the bees and all this sort of thing. Spend time with other people. Focus on individual people. Individual people are almost uniformly really lovely. They are just kind and thoughtful and empathetic. Yes, there are exceptions, and just kick those people and run away. But the vast majority of people in like ones and twos are really lovely. So focus on people in their ones and twos, and don't think about what we're all like when we get together as a massive block. And I have a friend who says this a lot. And I try and keep that in my mind every single day. You can do whatever you want forever. So please go out there into the world and do it and make it a better place for yourself and for everyone else. Thank you.